In the bustling city of Elmbridge, there was a wealthy businessman named Victor Hayes. Known for his luxurious lifestyle, he had everything a person could dream of: an expansive mansion, luxury cars, and vacations to exotic places. But Victor had one flaw. He was blinded by his greed. Every morning on his way to his office, Victor passed by an old man sitting on the corner of Maple Street. The man, with his frail figure and wrinkled face, was a familiar sight to many. He held a small handmade sign that read, "Help me if you can. May blessings find you." Victor ignored him, as he ignored most people. To him, life was about making money, and anyone who wasn't contributing to that goal was unimportant. One rainy morning, as Victor stepped out of his sleek black car, the old man stopped him. "Old man, sir, may I speak with you for a moment?" Victor glanced at his Rolex and sighed impatiently. "Victor, I don't have time for this. Go away." The old man didn't move. Instead, he looked straight into Victor's eyes and said, "Beware, sir. Your greed will cost you everything." Victor laughed mockingly. "Cost me? Do you know who I am? I'm Victor Hayes. Nothing can touch me." Without another word, Victor walked away, shaking his head at the crazy old man. Victor's day started like any other, with meetings, phone calls, and decisions that involved large sums of money. But something felt off. Around noon, his assistant burst into his office. "Assistant, sir, there's been a sudden drop in the company's stock value. Investors are pulling out." Victor frowned. "That's impossible. Our profits are at an all-time high." But the reports didn't lie. By evening, the company had lost millions. Victor worked late into the night, trying to figure out what went wrong. In the following weeks, things only got worse. A major client filed a lawsuit against Victor's company, claiming breach of contract. The media caught wind of the scandal, and Victor's reputation took a hit. One by one, his business partners distanced themselves from him. Banks refused to lend him money, and creditors demanded immediate repayments. Victor's once thriving empire was crumbling. One evening, as Victor sat alone in his grand yet eerily quiet mansion, he thought about the old man's warning. Could it be connected? Shaking his head, Victor muttered, "Superstitions. I don't believe in such nonsense." But deep down, he couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that he had made a mistake. With no other options, Victor decided to walk down Maple Street to find the old man. When he reached the corner, the old man was sitting there, just as he always had been. Victor approached him, his once confident demeanor now replaced with desperation. "You warned me about losing everything. How did you know?" The old man smiled gently. "It wasn't a prediction, son. It's a lesson life teaches everyone eventually. Greed blinds us to the things that truly matter." Victor sank to his knees. "What should I do? How do I fix this?" The old man placed a hand on Victor's shoulder. "Start by helping others. When you give without expecting anything in return, you'll find the true wealth you've been searching for." Victor didn't fully understand the old man's words, but he decided to give it a try. The next day, he visited a local charity and donated what little money he had left. He also began volunteering at a community shelter. At first, it felt strange. Victor, who had once commanded boardrooms, was now serving meals to the homeless. But as days turned into weeks, he began to change. He met people with incredible stories of resilience and hope. He listened to their struggles and realized how shallow his own pursuits had been. Months later, Victor was a different man. He no longer cared about his lost fortune or his tarnished reputation. Instead, he found joy in the simple act of giving. One sunny afternoon, as he walked down Maple Street, He saw the old man again. "Victor, I've done as you said. I lost everything, but I feel richer than ever." The old man smiled knowingly. "You've learned the greatest lesson, my boy. True wealth isn't in what you have, it's in what you give." Victor nodded, his heart full of gratitude. The moral: from that day on, Victor devoted his life to helping others. His journey from greed to generosity inspired everyone around him. And so, Victor Hayes learned that the price of greed was high, but the reward of kindness was priceless. Story 2. The Broken Clock. In the small town of Willow Creek lived a curious boy named Ethan. Ethan loved tinkering with things. If something was broken, he'd try to fix it, even if he didn't know how. His parents often laughed, saying, "Ethan, one day you'll grow up to be an inventor." One summer afternoon, Ethan accompanied his mother to a yard sale. While she browsed through old books and trinkets, Ethan's eyes fell on an antique clock. It was dusty, its face cracked, and its hands frozen at 2:37. "Ethan, Mom, can I get this?" His mother looked at the clock and hesitated. "It's broken, Ethan. What will you do with it?" "Ethan, I'll fix it." Seeing his determination, she gave in. At home, Ethan placed the clock on his desk. He examined every part carefully, but he had no idea where to start. Ethan thinking, "How hard can it be? It's just a clock." He opened the back and was immediately overwhelmed by the intricate gears and mechanisms. After a few failed attempts, he got frustrated and pushed the clock aside. "Ethan, maybe it's beyond repair." Days turned into weeks, but the broken clock kept catching Ethan's eye. One day, his grandfather visited and noticed the dusty clock. "Grandfather, an antique like this deserves a second chance. Are you giving up already, Ethan?" Ethan hesitated, but nodded. "It's too complicated." His grandfather smiled. "Sometimes, the best things in life take time and patience. Why don't you try again?" Inspired by his grandfather's words, Ethan decided to give it another shot. He watched videos, read books about clocks, and even asked a local repairman for advice. Slowly, he began to understand how the gears fit together. Every evening, after finishing his homework, Ethan would spend hours on the clock. One night, after weeks of trial and error, something clicked. Literally. He adjusted the final gear and wound the clock. To his amazement, it started ticking. Ethan excitedly, "I did it! It's working!" Ethan proudly placed the clock on the mantel in the living room. His family admired his determination, but what happened next was truly magical. The clock began to chime softly, and with each chime, Ethan felt a strange sense of warmth and happiness. Over time, he noticed that whenever the clock chimed, it seemed to bring moments of joy. One day, as Ethan was walking past the clock, he found a small inscription on its base. It read, "Time spent in effort is never wasted." The moral: Ethan realized that fixing the clock wasn't just about making it work again, it was about learning patience and persistence. And so, Ethan discovered that the most rewarding journeys are often the ones where we refuse to give up. Story 3. The Lonely Millionaire. In the heart of New York City, there was a man named Daniel Cross. Daniel was one of the richest men in the country. He had a penthouse overlooking Central Park, a fleet of luxury cars, and a thriving business empire. But Daniel was lonely. He had no family, no friends, and no one to share his success with. One winter evening, Daniel attended a charity gala. As he walked past the tables of donors, he overheard a little girl talking to her mother. "Girl, Mom, Why does that man look so sad? He's rich, isn't he? The mother smiled gently. Being rich doesn't mean you're happy, sweetheart. Happiness comes from love and people, not money. Daniel froze. He had never thought about his life that way before. The next day, Daniel visited a community center. He met people from all walks of life, single mothers, struggling artists, and retired veterans. Their stories moved him. Over time, Daniel began funding programs to help those in need. He didn't just donate money, he spent time with them, listening to their stories and sharing meals. For the first time, Daniel felt alive. The moral. And so, Daniel Cross learned that the greatest riches are found in the relationships we build, not the money we hoard. Story 4. The Kind Stranger. It was a rainy afternoon in a small town where Emma lived. She had just finished her shopping and was heading home when she saw an old man struggling to cross a busy street. His cane clicked against the pavement as he tried to balance, and the rain made it even more difficult for him to walk. Emma hesitated for a moment, but then rushed over to offer help. She gently took his arm and helped him across the street, shielding him from the rain with her umbrella. Emma smiling, "Let me help you, sir." The old man looked up at her with tired eyes but smiled. "Thank you, dear. It's been a long day." They exchanged a few more words before the old man waved goodbye and continued on his way. Many years passed, and Emma had moved on with her life. She had finished school, started a career, and built a happy life with her friends and family. One evening, after facing a sudden financial crisis, Emma found herself in a difficult situation. She had lost her job and didn't know how she would pay the bills. She was feeling hopeless. While walking down the street, she heard someone call her name. She turned around to see a man in a black coat approaching her. He looked familiar, and as he got closer, she realized it was the old man she had helped many years ago. Old man, smiling, "Hello, Emma. It's been a long time." Emma was surprised. Emma confused, "Do I know you?" "Old man, you don't remember? You helped me cross the street all those years ago." Emma's eyes widened as memories came rushing back. Emma surprised, "Of course, I remember now, but how did you recognize me?" The old man smiled and took out a business card from his coat pocket. It had a golden logo and read CEO, Cross Global Enterprises. Old man kindly, "Actually, I'm the CEO of a large corporation now, and you helped me when no one else would. I never forgot your kindness. So, when I heard about your situation, I thought it was time to return the favor." The old man explained that his company had an opening for a job in the field that Emma was passionate about. He offered her the position on the spot, telling her that she deserved it after the kindness she had shown him. Emma couldn't believe it. What had seemed like a simple act of kindness all those years ago had come full circle, changing her life in ways she never imagined. Emma grateful. I don't know what to say. Thank you so much." Old man smiling, "Don't thank me, Emma. Just remember that small acts of kindness can change lives, sometimes in ways you never expect." Emma's simple act of kindness didn't just help a stranger. It created a ripple effect that changed her life in unexpected ways. The old man's gratitude paid forward in a way Emma could never have anticipated. The moral, small acts of kindness have the power to change lives, both yours and others. Story 6. The Dream Catcher. Sophia was a struggling artist, trying to make ends meet while living in a small apartment. She loved to paint, but the sales of her work were few and far between. One day, while browsing a local flea market, Sophia stumbled upon a beautiful old dream catcher hanging from a small stall. It was large, intricate, and had sparkling beads that glimmered in the sunlight. Sophia, curious, how much for this dream catcher? The vendor, an elderly woman with kind eyes, smiled and handed it to Sophia. Vendor, it's $5, but remember, it's no ordinary dream catcher. It grants the dreams you desire. Just be careful what you wish for. Sophia, intrigued but skeptical, bought it and hung it above her bed that night. She didn't think much of the vendor's words. The next night, after hanging the dream catcher, Sophia fell asleep, feeling peaceful. She awoke the next morning to find a message in her inbox from a prestigious art gallery. They wanted to feature her work in an upcoming exhibition. Sophia excited, "This is it. This could change everything." From that moment on, everything Sophia touched seemed to turn to gold. She began getting more commissions than she could handle, her art gaining recognition, and soon she was living her dream. But with success came pressure. She found herself constantly working, painting, and running from one event to the next. She hardly had time for friends or to enjoy life outside of her career. Despite her success, something felt off. One evening, as she stood in front of a canvas she had been working on for days, Sophia realized that she hadn't painted just for the joy of it in a long time. She had been chasing success so relentlessly that she had lost the passion that once fueled her art. Her thoughts were interrupted by a knock on the door. It was the old vendor from the flea market. Vendor, with a knowing smile, "I see you've been doing well, but I also see the toll it's taking. The dream catcher grants what you wish for, but it's up to you to find balance." Sophia looked at the woman, confused. Sophia reflecting, "I've achieved everything I ever wanted, but I feel like I'm losing myself in the process." The old woman nodded gently. Vendor wisely, "Success is not only about achieving your dreams, it's about maintaining the happiness and passion that brought you there." Sophia took the vendor's advice to heart. She began to slow down, taking time to enjoy her art and the small moments in life. She still painted, but she did it with a new perspective, remembering why she loved it in the first place. Sophia's dream catcher had granted her success, but the true gift was the realization that success without joy is hollow. She learned that finding joy in the process was just as important as the outcome. The moral, true success is not about achieving fame or wealth. It's about finding joy in the journey,